Chancellor, graduation ceremonies are perhaps the highlight of the academic year. And as part of the celebration, we take the opportunity to recognise and honour individuals whose achievements are of real note and whom we are glad to welcome to the York family. So it is today that I have professional, and if I may say so, great personal pleasure in presenting for an honorary degree, Professor Amilra de Silva, or as everyone knows him, AP. Coming from a very ordinary family of rather modest means, with their encouragement and that of a school teacher, AP thrived in education and duly graduated with first-class honours in chemistry from the University of Colombo in Sri Lanka. He was then recruited to Queen's University, Belfast, where he undertook a PhD and some postdoctoral work with James Grimshaw, before returning to Colombo to care for his paternal grandmother. She was in failing health, and AP wanted to return the favour to the woman who had been one of his carers during his childhood, and also to follow the example of caring he learnt from his mother. For a talented young scientist with a bright future, this was a very significant commitment, yet already it gives an insight into the man. His return to Sri Lanka, during which term he also held a post at the University of Colombo, lasted 6 years, during which time he witnessed a bloody civil war break out. When his grandmother passed away in 1986, he was persuaded back to Belfast by his mentor, the late Ron Grigg, swapping civil war at home for the troubles in Northern Ireland. But like all of us who have visited Belfast, he knew the warmth of the people who lived there, and he was glad of the opportunity to rekindle old friendships. The independent research that AP developed at Queen's was in the area of fluorescent sensors, a very sensitive method in which a reporter molecule emits light as a result of a particular stimulus. With his research group, he pursued this from the angle of the academic, interested in the effect and how it may be understood and harnessed, and as the curious researcher who realized that his chemistry could be used to mimic the behavior of logic gates. Then later, and with the wider good in mind, he brought these different aspects of his chemistry together to integrate rapid and sensitive fluorescence tests that his group had developed for sodium, potassium, and calcium into existing sensors for carbon dioxide and pH in blood. The resulting inexpensive devices, and I think he's going to show you one later, were commercialized and have been sold around the world for both human and veterinary use. And it was a moment of immense pride for AP when he learned that they were being used in ambulances in his home country of Sri Lanka. Allow me to paraphrase some of AP's own words. Imagine the scene where a victim of a suicide bombing is lying in the road fighting for life. A paramedic stabilizes the victim and a sample of blood is drawn and analyzed within 30 seconds using one of AP's sensors. The gas and electrolyte levels in the victim's blood are telephoned ahead to the hospital so that a blood bag can be prepared to match the salt levels of the victim before the ambulance fights through the Colombo traffic to the A&E ward. This precaution prevents salt shock occurring during transfusion and so saved the lives of countless people who may otherwise have died on the operating table despite the surgical team following the procedures assiduously. In other words, some of those Colombo residents, as he was, are now alive thanks to one of those sensors. How must it feel to know that something that you and your group have done through the power of your imagination and your creativity has saved the lives of people with whom you grew up? AP's work has been recognised by election as a member of the Royal Irish Academy and by other awards in both Ireland and beyond. In 1997, he published a review of work in fluorescent sensors in the top-ranked journal Chemical Reviews, which has been referenced more than 6,500 times, one of the top 20 reviews ever published in the journal in its 123-year history. And 25 years on, it still gets 2 citations every week. Further, his publication on molecular logic gates in the journal Nature garnered more than 1,000 citations. There's not an academic in the room that would not love to have that kind of statistic on their CV. They're all nodding, they know. However great these achievements, there's so much more to learn about AP. I first met him as a young lecturer, just a few years ago, and like everyone who has heard him describe his work, was transfixed and fascinated, not only by what he had to say, but the way he was able to communicate it. As you'll hear, he's an inspirational and most engaging speaker with an enthusiasm for what he does that is truly infectious. I've also had the pleasure to work with him when we shared an outreach lecturing stage, when we examined a PhD thesis together. These occasions confirm what I have long known. AP is a caring mentor of and inspiration to young scientists with a thoughtful, deeply humanistic approach to both science and to life. Probably one of the nicest guys in the business. And multi-talented, he brought his passion for music from his home country to Belfast, joining a traditional Irish band as a percussionist and incorporating some of the Sri Lankan drumming techniques he learned as a child into the Irish traditions of music. And you knew when he'd been performing because he was a little bit later into the department the next day. Chancellor, the founding academics of this university saw its mission to do work for the public good. Through his academic leadership, his careful mentoring of more junior scientists, his ability and willingness to communicate his work widely, and for research that has palpably saved lives, AP fits that bill perfectly. For showing the power of chemistry for the public good, I have the very great honour to present Professor Amilra de Silva for the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa.
Through the power invested to me by the University of York, I have great pleasure in conferring upon you the degree of Doctor of the University, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Chancellor, it's a great honor that you've given me from this great and youthful university. And I say that as an old guy. And I'm also very grateful to Duncan and the lovely chemistry department for allowing me to participate in this great day today. And I have to say a special thanks to all of you in the center here. Thanks for allowing me to gate crash what is really your big day. So congratulations to you all, first of all. And I must also remember that you went through a COVID crisis and you're here smiling today, so congratulations again. And so, all I can do as an old person is to tell you a couple of quick stories in the little time I have, and hope it gives you a spring in your step as you go out into the world, and as all the people who love you cheer you on. The first thing I must say, of course, is that I happen to be a chemist, but I'm not leaving out the mathematicians, no. Because once upon a time, I did a degree as well, and in chemistry as the main subject, but I did pursue mathematics, pure and applied mathematics as well, for as long as they would allow me. And I'm very grateful for the experience I had because, and I thought I'll especially mention this here, because York is a university which is renowned for diversity of all kinds, and congratulations to you all in what you pursue. But I also wanted to point out to you the diversity of subjects, the diversity of learning that a university can do. After all, the university contains the universe in the sound of its name. And so I was very grateful as an individual who loves his chemistry for sure, but I also do love mathematics, and I'm very grateful for it because I was introduced to the principles of computer science through pure mathematics. And I remain very grateful, and as Duncan very graciously mentioned, in the little research I was able to do, I was able to combine bits of chemistry and ideas of computer science. And that's one of the little stories I would like to tell you. In the sense that you know, all of you know, that if you give a chemist half a chance, They will tell you about molecules. Those things which are too small nearly to see, but which still have a great influence on you. There are many things which are invisible, which have influences on us, like ghosts. And so because of that, I would ask you to spare a moment to think of a molecule. Molecules are what you are. And if you're scared of those ghosts, don't look in a mirror, because that's what you are. All of us are basically plastic bags full of molecules. And these molecules are magic, because they are the ones that keep you looking as beautiful as you are, especially on a day like today when you're in your finery here. Remember, please, all of you, especially those who are not chemists, it's because of those molecules that you are worth it, according to L'Oreal and other people. And the reason why these molecules are magical is they perform information processing inside of all of us. So when you think you are looking lovely, it's because the molecules are furiously processing information. And as long as they do that efficiently, you are fine. And the day they stop doing it for me, I'll be dead. So spare a thought for molecules as you go on your happy way, and as you look forward to celebrate what you have achieved in this really tricky period of time. But before you go, I want to leave you with another small story. And it is, as Duncan graciously pointed out, I studied in Sri Lanka, and then I was privileged to work in a time of a civil war. And then in Belfast, of course, they were not second to Sri Lanka by any means. And so violence was no stranger again. And it is in that kind of climate, and it's in that kind of environment that people like me were able to pursue something that this university considers so highly, the public good. And here's a piece of plastic to show you that. And I thought I'll bring this and show you it, and Duncan sort of expressed it so well for you. This has saved lives. And it saved lives because I had that little chance under a coconut tree, and then in Belfast, equally emerald, to pursue a little bit of science and a little bit of mathematics. And therefore, I would like to remind especially the class now, if a oldie, moldy, baldy, that's what I am under this, can achieve a few little things for the public good and save a few lives and make a few people smile, then how much more will you be able to do, having had the grounding of the public good as part of the university vision here? And then to work in a time of relative peace. Okay, we had our COVID bubbles, but once you come through that and you having the dynamism of youth, you'll be able to go and take over the world. And God knows, our messed up world needs you now. Thank you.